Hey and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's begin with our daily news. Kieran Tierney wanted by Juventus and Inter Milan. Arsenal defender Kieran Tierney could find himself on his way out of the Emirates before this month is out, according to reports from Italy. Tierney has found himself out of the picture a bit this season. The signing and then subsequent form of Alexander Zinchenko has seen the Scot struggle for any minutes, and according to Tutto Mercato Web, should Arsenal complete a deal for Ivan Fresneda, then the door will open for Tierney to move on. It's claimed both Inter Milan and Juventus are keen on the left back, who might welcome the switch for first team football. Of course, any move from Juventus is bound to be under scrutiny. The old lady are already in trouble for past dealings, and it remains to be seen whether they will be allowed to sign any players. For Arsenal, they will be keen to keep Tierney around. Dubbed outstanding by Kevin Campbell previously, Tierney has always impressed Mikel Arteta with his attitude. Despite him not being a main choice this season, he remains the primary left-back cover. Tierney, who signed for Arsenal for around £25 million, had initially been a star for the Gunners, but Zinchenko's arrival has bumped him down a tad. While it's not what Tierney wants, sitting on the bench all the time, it would be a bold call to leave the club this month. The Scot can still play his part in a title-winning season. There is a long way to go, and he will be needed by Mikel Arteta in the run-in. Tierney has been an excellent pro ever since moving to the Emirates. It's frustrating now for sure, but the bigger picture means he might be inclined to stay put. Lauren tips Arsenal man Martin Odegaard to be a 100 or 200 million pound player in the future. Former Arsenal defender Lauren has tipped Martin Odegaard to become one of the most valuable players in the world in the future. The Norwegian joined the club permanently last season and has continued to improve as the Gunners work towards winning an unlikely Premier League title. Mikel Arteta's side has been in terrific form this term, and Odegaard has been at the heart of most good things they have done so far. The midfielder keeps getting better, and Lauren is convinced the ex-Real Madrid man will become one of the most valuable players in the world soon. He said via Star Sport. Odegaard was not a cheap player, but he has been great and still has more to show. If he continues to improve, he can be a 100 or 200 million pound player in the future. I can see Odegaard compete for the top individual awards such as the Ballon d'Or. The performances of the team are helping him to grow. In the future, if Arsenal win the Premier League, then perform well in the Champions League next season, I believe Odegaard will be among the best in the world. Odegaard has been one of our most important players in the last 2 seasons, and he is one man we can trust to do well in any game. The money we spent on the Norwegian now seems like a steal, and if we win the league this term, his market value will skyrocket. Because we are not even thinking about selling him, we do not need to worry much about how much he is worth on the market. Mick McCarthy gives his verdict on Arsenal youngster Charlie Patino. New Blackpool boss Mick McCarthy has suggested that he has loved working with Charlie Patino and backed the Arsenal loanee to have a great future. In comments reported by The Athletic, Patino has been one of the shining lights in a tough season at Bloomfield Road. The club currently sits second bottom in the championship, and the Arsenal youngster got another chance to show what he could do against Premier League opposition on Saturday. Blackpool faced Southampton for a place in the 5th round of the FA Cup. Ultimately, they came up short, but Patino certainly made his mark on the game. He scored Blackpool's goal midway through the second half, which definitely made the tie interesting again. Arsenal fans are extremely excited about what the future holds for Patino, so there may have been a little unease about the recent change in the dugout with McCarthy replacing Michael Appleton. There is always a chance that a new manager will prefer other players, but it would appear that McCarthy is also an admirer of the 19-year-old, as he gave his verdict on his performances on Saturday. He said, as reported by The Athletic, He has a right go at it, Charlie. He is a young man and sometimes he doesn't always get it right. He might press and get played past, but in the first half, he lost it in front of us about 20 yards into their half and won it back in the 18-yard box at the other side of the pitch. I said, if you can do that, you will do for me. The willingness to do it is great. I have loved working with him for the last few days. He is going to be a very good player. Arsenal would have been forgiven for being tempted to recall Patino this month. It has been a disappointing season for Blackpool so far, and it does appear that the Gunners need further depth in the middle of the park, but of course, bringing Patino back prematurely may not do him any favours in the long run, and much like William Saliba, Arsenal are clearly not going to alter their plans for potential short-term gains. Hopefully, he kicks on from here and returns to the Emirates ready to stake a greater claim for game time under Mikel Arteta. Liverpool Legend says Trossard was a better buy than Gakpo. Cody Gakpo was linked to Arsenal before joining Liverpool as the Gunners needed to bolster their attack. However, we know that Arsenal responded to this need by signing Trossard anyway. If statics were the deciding factor in the transfer decision, comparing Leandro Trossard and Cody Gakpo, Gakpo would have been the better signing. However, Liverpool legend Jose Enrique has confirmed what Arsenal scouts probably already knew when they chose not to turn their interest in Gakpo into a bid. Arsenal could easily have paid the £37 million bid Liverpool paid PSV for the 23-year-old. Cody Gakpo sealed a headline move to Liverpool after a brilliant first half of the season, in which he was impressing game after game for PSV in the Eredivisie. He managed 9 goals and 12 assists in 14 games before going on to score 3 goals in 5 World Cup games for the Netherlands. The Red thought they were getting a bowler, but in the few games he's played under club, he's looked out of place. Enrique has questioned club's decision to sign Gakpo, claiming that he should have signed Leandro Trossard, who is immediately demonstrating why Arsenal signed him. He said, "You can call me whatever you want, but I am watching Arsenal and something that I said before, I even say it more now, that we signed Gakpo instead of Trossard for half of the price. I don't understand. Really like Trossard." It should reassure Arsenal fans that the Trossard swoop has been well received by the Premier League fan base. His addition has truly ended the anxiety that was in Arteta's attack after Gabriel Jesus' injury. Romano shares the latest on Fresneda. Fabrizio Romano has claimed that Arsenal are one of 2 clubs leading the race for Ivan Fresneda. The transfer insider spoke to Give Me Sport about the state of play involving the Gunners and the Real Valladolid gem. Arsenal have been heavily linked with Fresneda over the past few weeks. Metro recently reported that both the Gunners and Borussia Dortmund are on the right back for signing him. Both clubs have apparently agreed a €15 million fee with Valladolid for the right back. Arsenal and Dortmund have reportedly both agreed personal terms with the player. However, Marca have reported that Fresneda is leaning towards a switch to Germany. Romano believes that it's now up to Fresneda to decide where to take the next step in his career. He told Give Me Sport the following: "Let's see how it will progress. The player has to decide. It's really important to understand what the player wants to do. I am told that the German club is also moving behind the scenes on Fresneda, but now Borussia Dortmund and Arsenal are leading the race." Cedric Soares is reportedly closing in on a departure from Arsenal. With that in mind, Mikel Arteta will need to bring someone in as a cover. Cedric is in the twilight of his career and deserves to go out and get regular first-team football, and Fresneda would be a perfect replacement for him. He is an incredibly talented player, as previously deemed him one of the biggest prospects in European football. Given Fresneda's age, he likely won't mind biding his time initially. He can learn from Takahiro Tomiyasu and Ben White and initially start out with cup starts and league cameos. Then, as Fresneda picks up more knowledge and experience, his role can develop into that of a regular starter. Romano shares what he's heard about Moises Caicedo deal now. Moises Caicedo to Arsenal looks to be the big talking point in terms of big money transfers as we near the end of the transfer window. The Gunners have gone in with a big £60 million offer for Caicedo. That offer has been promptly rejected. In turn, it started a series of events including Caicedo posting a public get me out plea, while Brighton have since told him to stay away until the window closes. Since then, there has been talk of a second bid from Arsenal as well. However, writing for Couch Offside this morning, Fabrizio Romano has claimed that there has been no such bid yet. Romano wrote, "Despite reports to the contrary, I am not aware of the second Arsenal bid for Moises Caicedo submitted on Saturday. Let's see on Sunday what happens. The last bid was the one I mentioned on Friday, £60 million rejected. Brighton insist they want to keep Caicedo, so it's not an easy one. Arsenal are pushing on Caicedo deal, also on the player side. Chelsea already had conversations on the player side, but their last bid was £55 million 10 days ago, rejected too. Brighton are thought to be seeking as much as £90 million for Caicedo. Chelsea are also keen, having also seen an offer rebuffed earlier in the window. If anything, Arsenal fans can't complain. This has been a boring window. They had the whole Madrid saga and then moved quickly for Trossard and Kivior. They have been linked with countless players and going into the final days, and clearly going for Caicedo as well. It's one of those which could be right to the deadline. Arsenal won't be paying over the odds, but they do want the player and could well go for it if they really do feel he is the one. Sky Sports journalist shares update on Arsenal's pursuit of Declan Rice. Sky Sports journalist Michael Bridge has told Give Me Sport that Arsenal want to beat Chelsea to the signing of West Ham United star Declan Rice. Mikel Arteta will be content with the business the club have done in the transfer window so far, with Arsenal moving to bring in both Leandro Trossard and Jakub Kivior. The Gunners will be hoping to land a new midfielder before Tuesday's deadline, and they are seemingly trying to bring in Moises Caicedo from Brighton. But Arsenal have also got one eye on the summer and have been heavily linked with a move for Rice. The Telegraph reports that their pursuit of Caicedo will not stop them from going for the Englishman at the end of the season. Now, Bridge claims that Arteta's men are really keen on beating Chelsea to landing Rice after missing out on Mykhailo Mudryk to their London rivals earlier this month. Speaking to Give Me Sport, the Sky Sports journalist provided an update on Arsenal's interest in Rice. Bridge said, "My information is that Arsenal will be very keen on him, and I am sure they will be hell-bent on not wanting to lose out to Chelsea again, like with Mudryk. I think the feelers might already be out in terms of their interest, if I'm honest." Of course, Arsenal were confident they would land Mudryk earlier in the window, but the Ukrainian winger ended up at Stamford Bridge. But it seems that the North Londoners want to exact their revenge in a few months' time by bringing in a long-standing Chelsea target in Rice. Rice looks likely to leave the London Stadium at the end of the season, and the Telegraph reports that it will take at least £70 million for the Hammers to consider selling him. The Gunners are certainly short in terms of their options in the middle of the park, and Thomas Partey picked up an injury during their 1-0 loss to Manchester City on Friday, while Arteta is seemingly pushing ahead to bring in another midfielder in Caicedo this month. Rice would be a magnificent addition to the Arsenal squad. Rice has already admitted that he is a huge fan of Arsenal winger Bukayo Saka, and the pair have clearly forged a strong relationship while playing for England. The 24-year-old has been heavily linked with a move to Stamford Bridge over the past few seasons due to his links with the club, but Arsenal look to have stolen a march on their London rivals and will be hoping they remain in pole position by the time the summer comes around. I will be uploading daily Arsenal news show, so keep your eyes on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Peace out.